Hey Bobby, what's up, man? Thanks for the on-screen celebration here. My tech is absolutely hating me. That's why the stream's starting a little bit late, and I'm sitting here just trying to fight through a little bit. For some reason, Kick is just completely offline. Yeah, this is what's annoying because everything looks like it should be good.
Something unusual.
All right. Man, I haven't set anything up. I haven't started try hack me. Nothing. Been fighting OBS. Oh, and StreamerBot. Yeah, StreamerBot's dead on me. So I can't. You have StreamerBot running right now. That's fantastic. That's just like bullshit. Yeah, they sure are, man. I don't actually need StreamerBot to be working. It just helps. Hack that planet. I'm actually getting ready to put some more stuff onto StreamerBot, but it's not critical. It's just helpful. All right. Let's see how well this is gonna work. What's up, everybody? Jeez, the tech is in full revolt. I'm guessing Skynet's been born. It's just what I'm dealing with. Ugh. But had a really good day today. Kids, we had their birthday party today for both boys, and they had a really good time. I had to light up Agent Zero a little bit because I found him awake. I didn't find him. My brother found him because he went and stayed the night with my brother. Found him awake at 3 a.m. watching TV. Like, dude, no. At least wait till you're a teenager to do that crap. Yeah, it's like, I was like, bro, you're too young to be doing that. Let me do something real quick here. The biggest help that I had from... Oh, hang on one sec. Everything is doing the absolute most annoying thing possible. But the main thing that StreamerBot helped with was it helped maintaining chat and keeping chat organized. There it goes. So, give me a second here. Everything is all kinds of messed up right now. There we go. So we pop that out. Okay. Now I can just kind of squeeze this right here. Sucks. This is such a janky layout. It wouldn't be bad if I actually had a tiling manager in here. That's all right. All right, let's start off this party by restarting the VPN. And then, where's our good old test data? That is, once we got the test data, yeah. Test data is good, yeah. There we go. And there's our IP address. Let's go get our seed run knocked out real quick here. All right. Drop in the IP address. Do a little copy paste action. Let's see if everything connected back up okay. Ah! Every time, man. Every time. There we go. All right. I don't know why everything is just in full-on revolt today. There we go. All right. Run. Let's get the seed run going. So we can start working on the exploitation agent. While this is running, let's go look at what happened to exploit last time it ran. Actually, how far did we get in Stinger? We get a graph we got a graph recursion limit last time. Oh, right. Yeah, because there was an error in the routing function. I forgot about that. So when Agent Plowner called the first one here, yeah, there was an error I think we fixed, possibly. And it had to do with how it was doing. It wasn't doing like any calls with anything. It was weird. It was an error up here in the set processor. That's right. I even left myself a handy little note. Thanks, past me. The handy little note was, hey, should we move this? Should we move this over to the revisor? So as soon as it actually hits exploitation, I see it hit the exploit bot, I'm going to kill it manually. I don't want it running through and burning tokens. Because if this is to be believed, this last run here cost us, let's see, 34.6 plus 29.4. That is, let's see, 65 cents to do that run. It's a lot of tokens. Hey, Teeth, what's up, man? What Debian XFCE are you running on? So I'm not running it on this computer. This computer is running Windows for the time being. Eventually, it will probably be relegated to something else. But for the time being, this computer's running Windows. Our dev box is, this one right here, is just running a basic Debian 12. It's very, very simple because, and I'm only planning on running like the one system on there. So nothing fantastical, but I am considering testing out Omarchi on an old MacBook to see how I like it, and possibly considering using that. I don't know how well it would do because I know it's really geared towards developers. I don't know how well it would do as a daily driver, but also I've never messed with Arch, so there's a couple of factors working against me from just like saying yes, let's go make that the daily driver. Running KDE, I forget what this. I don't think this is KDE. Dude, don't make me lie to you. I forget. I spend most of my time in a Linux terminal, so I don't ever mess with it. Running Asahi Linux on an M1 hardware, nice, dude. I had an M1 Max at my last job. I really liked it. All right, I think something's messed up here. We should not still be in recon. All right, cancel this run. What is going on? Oh, I hope I didn't just kill that early. Let me see. No, okay. It worked. We got to the exploitation agent, but then we got stuck. Oh, damn it. The freaking interface here. So what should have happened is this should have showed us the entire trace of what was happening, and it didn't show us going into the exploitation agent. So we got stuck in that loop again. Damn it all. That's all right. So what is happening here? Let's move this around just a wee bit. Is we added an extra step over here. So here's our entry point, right? Hit our entry point, it loads our data from disk, goes to the exploitation agent, and then it basically hands it off to this loop right here. So we've added an exit condition from here to actually get back to the exploitation agent when it's done, but we needed to add an extra step in here. So the exploit step processor, we added an extra LLM call, which usually breaks. It breaks my self-imposed design structure that is each node should be basically one language call. And I think I've broken that before, but it helps keep things nice and straight and see where stuff is going. But there's a language model call that happens in here to check for early RCE. So when we get all the exploit steps, occasionally it gets super excited and actually finishes the exploit ahead of schedule and shows that we do have remote code execution. So I wanted to have a check in there to check for that first that says, okay, did we already get RCE? If so, we can just skip to the last step and go craft the initial access exploit. Once you get to the initial access exploit, it's pretty much done. You've already shown RCE, you've made the reproducible command execution for the other agents, we should be good. So now my question that I'm posed with here is, we had to add in some weird branching to the step processor when we did this. So right here, like I say, so if RCE happened, we're going to set the remaining steps to skipped, except for the last one we'll do right here. So let's go through the trace and actually see. Well, we don't know if that happened because it just got stuck in this freaking loop right here where it was just making language model calls and not doing anything. So we did get the one. It pulled the artifact, but then when it went to update, let's see what happened in update. That's right. Update is just appending the data to it when it does that. It's taking the tool call data and sticking it into the output here. But what about the revisor? What did our revisor say when we did this? So we told it, get a PHP web shell. It returned back, insert step false. It's validated. Okay, great. Then something happens right here. Let's see. So you're a world-class exploit analyzer. Check the context of the request to determine if remote code execution has been achieved. And then we defined code execution. Let's see. Get a PHP web shell artifact from the available right here. So, okay, it came back with RCE false. Perfect. So now what should have happened is if it comes back with RCE false right here, it should come down and actually have executed these other steps right here. This is our RCE check. But for some reason, after this, it did not do the second language model call. See that? Here's our entire second language model call where it should have called for other stuff. What is this song? Give Me the Music? Okay, we gotta skip that one too. Apologize if you hear weird background music. I added a whole new slew of really great music, but there's some in there that are good, but they just don't work well for like background stream music. So I'm filtering them out as they come up, but it was a huge pack of music. So what happened here? We got the RCE object back right here. When the language model returned it, we got false. So it should not have entered this if check right here. So it should have gone directly to whatever the next step is, and it should have done this part right here. Let me think about this. So if the current step is greater than 0, we only have one return statement in here. That's what's wild. So it should have executed all the rest of this stuff. That's wild. Why would it do that? Hey, Frenchie, what's up, man? Doing well. Trying to figure out why this code is not following the correct code path. Because look at this. We only see one call to the language model here, when actually in this node, when the execution happens, every time it makes the loop, it should actually hit it twice. So there's a check in here that says, hey, have we done at least the first step? If by some random chance it got the first step and it got remote code execution doing the exploit, then we'd want to do this. I'm still considering that, Bobby. I'm considering taking all that functionality and baking it into the revisor and then extending the revisor's response. So if we look over here, when it actually comes through and does the revision check, we could also add in another, we could expand the prompt here a little bit and add another check in here. Basically, we define code execution, and then we say, hey, by the way, we can just expand this output here. We could have a status, but we could also have an RCE check in here. And if we hit the RCE check, then we could do other stuff. I think that's probably the better way to go with it. However, this is bugging the crap out of me, because here's what should happen. If the current step is greater than 0, basically, are we beyond the first step in the list of steps that are going to happen? It does all this. It makes the language model call, but then after this, it skips over here, right? But then it just comes over and it starts executing in here. Let me skip that one too. We're waiting. Yeah, let's do that one. I had a question for you. I'm thinking the CPTS plus Portswigger are better than the ECPPT and online courses. I want to be prepared to take the OSCP. All right, I got to remember what the CPTS is. Hang on one second. Let me go double check it. Hey, Matthew Des, thank you, man. Thank you for coming online. Welcome in. Let's see. Oh, that's the Hack the Box Certified Pen Testing Specialist. So I haven't gotten to take a too close a look at it. Let's go look at it real fast. What's up? We're taking a look at, well, we're doing a little bit of work on our CTF playing hacking bot, but I wanted to also take a look here and see what's going on with this. By the way, I apologize to everybody over on Kick and YouTube. For some reason, the stream, I had to work with it. That's why I started the stream a little late. I couldn't get it stable over on Kick and YouTube. I think it's finally stabilized now. I don't know if it's part of the fallout from US East 1 in AWS and everybody tipping the boat there, but it seems to have stabilized now. So if you have any trouble, shout it out in chat so I can maybe try and fix it. Let's see. I think actually I know I've looked at it. I've not been through this course though, French. So let me read over it real quick. So you have to do a black box web external internal penetration test activities against a real world Active Directory network hosted in HackTheBox's infrastructure. So you can use your Pwn box or your own local VM. You get a letter of engagement, explains how to do it. I mean, this sounds very similar to what you're going to be doing. What are our knowledge domains? So pen testing process and methodology, information and recon, attacking Windows and Linux targets, Active Directory pen testing, web app, manual and automated exploitation, vulnerability assessments, pivoting. I think this would be a really good one for starting on the side to like go towards the OSCP, Frenchu. And the Portswigger Academy is phenomenal. So that plus whatever they've got here in the web testing portion, I'd say actually if you really wanted to work on this, maybe go through the Portswigger one first. And it might seem weird, but here's why. Because then everything in here that touches some kind of a web system, you're going to be better prepared for. So you're going to already have one of the areas of domain information kind of on lockdown, and you can work through that section first. So yeah, I do like the Hack the Box one here. Let me look at this other one, ECPPT. Oh, that's the one from INE. I'm gonna be straight with you. I'm not a huge INE fan, and so it just never really meshed with me very well. So I think your assessment, French, of the CPTS and Portswigger Academy would be good, and they would get you kind of prepped up for the OSCP. All right, sorry about that. So do you think Hack the Box is better than TryHackMe? In some respects, they're both a little bit different. Matthew does. So the CTF component to... Actually, I'll tell you what. TryHackMe is a lot more guided than Hack the Box. Hack the Box is a lot more varied than TryHackMe. I like them both. The only reason we're using TryHackMe is this was the very simplest example I could find between the two platforms for testing HackBot. That's it. That was the reason why I did that. Hey, Frenchie, no problem. Ask away. When I put Q&A in the stream title, I mean it. I absolutely mean it. Now, this is still wild. Why is this branch completely not executing? Right here. So this is all inside this if check, right? Where basically we have to do, hey, if RCE check happens. And our RCE responded with, where do we get that? Boop. So from this call right here, RCE came back as false, just like that. There's one option here where, actually, let me check one more thing in the trace here. So it completely breaks this because then it goes to the tool node. Tool node doesn't know what to do, so then it goes to update, then it goes to revisor again. It probably makes another, oh, that's the revisor. What task are we trying to revise with this? Navigate to the upload form. Okay. And we have no output for that, so that makes sense. And then we do another RCE check. It still comes back as false. So I think the problem here is, let's do something real quick. Let's come over here. When we hit, before we exit this node, we're going to set a breakpoint. So interrupt after, right here. So we're going to do that before we exit it. What's going to happen now is when we run this, it'll come through the execution, and before it leaves this node, it's going to interrupt for us and basically pause the state of everything. So then we can go check what that RCE is. I'm going to do one more thing in here where we're going to do an annoying print real fast. So what we're going to do is we're going to say print, and you'll see why I'm doing this in just a second. We're going to print =, times like 70. We're going to print that. Then we're going to print our RCE check. And then we'll do, what is this? RCE underscore check. Can't type. My keyboard's all out of position. There we go. I still have my keyboard in gaming mode from playing Alan Wake last night. All right, so let's do format check there. And then down here, boop, just like that. All right. And the reason why you're like, hey, why are you doing it like this for debugging? It's because I have to find this one output in this entire long streaming argument for the for the terminal. So when we save that here, it's hot loaded in. We can go run this guy because we already got a good pickle, but it's going to stop as soon as we hit this. Then we're going to go look through all this output and try to find the annoying output that's going to be dropped into the terminal there. So let's run this sucker. We might actually have to wait till we hit the second one. Actually, yeah, we need to let it go through and do the first pass. So then once it pauses here, we're going to just submit it. It's going to continue down the pipe here. And then now before it exits this, it's going to interrupt again. Then we can go check it. All right, so this is our RCE check. Another weird song that's got to get pulled from the background music. I love this pack, except it was hundreds of songs, right? And it was put together by one of the guys who's a viewer. And there's just some of them in here that are weird. So I couldn't go through and pre-filter them. Teeth is like, I was jamming. I like this. This is like a slap bass. Oh, I need to do this. I need to move this up one right here. Let's do another one here. Cool response. Yeah, let's do this. I gotta split this line up here real quick. Okay. Oh, you know what? I think I'm an idiot. I think I'm a massive idiot. This was the run. Hang on a second. I think I'm a giant smooth brain. Oh, okay, so something did get jacked up. Oh, well, those debuggings will help. Look at this. It never even completed the nmap port scan. See that? Ah, crap. Okay, I think I see we have a... Houston, we have a bigger problem here. So let me come back here. Nope, you're not going to let me go to the previous ones, are you? I think I see what the issue is. The issue is I bet the VPN jacked up again. Let me grab this IP address here. We're going to go manually check that machine right there. Real fast. Okay, it came up. All right, maybe it just wasn't up when we were trying it. Ah, damn it. I closed the frickin'... I closed it. Hold on. Let me do something here real quick. Let's do just a quick nmap scan against this. So we'll do nmap. And let's just double check port 80's open. Okay. For some reason, the nmap scan failed and I guess I was looking at the old scan data, which is no wonder why it looks so weird. The old scan data, it made sense because we hadn't fixed that conditional jump. Oh well. It's alright. It's all part of the game. So, let's come back over to... We gotta now get another copy of the test data. Hang on. There we go. Let's go run this again. Was it a DNS issue? No, probably just an ID10T smooth brain issue. Internal DNS failure of the dome. Okay, there it goes. So when it does the Nmap scan, it should be real fast. And we can even see the output from the Nmap scan here, right? There it is, Nmap local. So that's where it was running it, right there. Excellent. Let me rename this window. Let's see. Why everything's out of position. I'm just on tilt tonight. Rename window to Robo Pages. There we go. Oh, there. That way I'll remember this is the one that's supposed to be working in. Tubop has some wild songs in here. All right. Okay, so now we're down in this version here. I like this one, Fighting Without Fighting. Seems pretty chill. Now what tools are... It's got to be running GoBuster right now. There you go. Because that's the one that takes the longest when it's doing the initial run is GoBuster. If you're wondering what this thing is I'm messing with, it's a little glow stick. It was in the party packs we gave to the kids at the birthday party today. But this one, it fell on the ground, and just from the impact of falling on the ground, it cracked and broke, so I've just been playing with it. Alright, so I think it's about to finish enumeration, and then it will move on to exploitation. There we go. Now the question is, so we put an interrupt in the exploit agent, but I don't think it will actually... I don't think that interrupt will transfer, because their entry point for this one was Stinger instead of exploit. So I don't think those interrupts actually transfer over. So we got the Diceco artifact. Okay, cool. So it is kind of executing in the proper order now. Nice. Sick. Oh, it looks like we crashed out. Let's see. it went and did the browser navigate, but then as soon as we went to the exploit step processor, we had an oopsie. Yeah, that's where it came through. Damn it. So if that part's erroring out, I thought I pulled that out correctly. Let me see. So what it's saying is it couldn't parse the arguments. What was the actual error? Index list out of range. Because what we're doing with this, let me show you. So when we make this call, what we're doing is we've got a structured object called an exploit check. We bind that as a tool call to the language model. Because you gotta remember, when the tool call happens, it's not actually executing anything. It's sending a tool primitive back to the system, and then we're parsing that to figure out which function to call to do this. Well, part of that structured outputting and can send back is we can actually have it do some logical checks. So for example, this one we said, okay, hey, check and see if we have early RCE. So when that comes back, it comes back as a tool call and we can parse that. Hey, Hugh, what's up, man? I apologize. I'm trying to pay attention to the stream chat, but everything's kind of jacked up right now. Let me see if I can do something real quick here. What is this? Yeah, mark all those as completed. I don't know what that even is. Oh, that was a list of every time somebody played something. Let's see if I can change something real quick in the chat here. Supposedly, I've got the size turned up as high as it will go. We'll see if that fixes it a little bit better. So I apologize. I'm trying to pay close attention to it, but the stream, this chat settings are non-optimal right now because StreamerBot just completely died on me for some reason. Where else have I done this? This is basically a little dirty hack that we're doing, but I've used it before. Yeah, this should be the correct structure. Tool calls, we only make one tool call, so it should be 0 args and then the field name in here. Oh, I think we might need to update the instructions, because here's what happened. It never made the tool call. So there's something else we can do with this. I gotta remember how to do that. Let me see. LangChain force tool call. Oh, I forgot about this. So when you bind it with tools, you can tell it the tool choice right here. So you do a comma, tool choice, you give it the name of it, bam. Okay. So that way we can tell it you must always return a tool call from this. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll say tool choice is going to equal, we'll say exploit step, just like this. There we go. You're not bypassing your tool calls from now on. Excellent. Excellent. All right. So now it can choose not to call this because it thinks it's just callable. But now we're saying, no, you must choose a tool. All right. Let's see if that all hot loaded in. Think so. But the good thing is now we can come back over to the exploit agent, and we can just let this guy run. We can turn off this interrupt after. Go, little agent. All right, so it's doing the first pass here, which is usually, hey, go get the PHP web shell artifact, and then start doing the other stuff in here. Yeah, so there's it getting the artifact. Oh, good. There's our 2 language model calls right there. Oh, dang it. It's exploit step status. Did it die? Yeah, it did die. Okay. Oh, I'm an idiot. That's supposed to be exploit step status. Dang it, just wasted all them tokens for nothing. Let me see if I can do something real quick, actually, because we should be able to... Here we go. Yeah, we can rerun from here. So what should happen is it makes a fork, and then it goes through and fixes all the rest of the stuff. And then should hopefully use the upgraded code in there. Which, considering it got to the special agent node, that would mean it did. Okay. Nice. Let's go over here. Okay, so it came back as false. Now if we actually go look at our terminal output, there it is. Yeah, we should have seen all that stuff in there. Great. All right, so the problem was I was looking at the wrong data, probably because I was still waking up. I had fallen asleep with the kids and then came over to try and get the stream going, and then everything was just busted. Just straight up eating it. But that's okay, because I've got my Jocko. Not sponsored by Jocko. Transparent Jocko. Yet. Okay, so it's back in the special agent. I think the special agent calling convention is going to have to change eventually. I do see it renaming the file, so it's... Let's see what file extension it chose. PHTML. Nice. Should have branded as Jocko Go. It is Jocko Go. Or are you joking because the can's transparent? Well, will it do that? No, it won't do that because it's green screening against what's behind me. Hold on. See if I can... Nah, that's not a good way to do it. Okay, so it said it finished. Let's see what it said it did. Where did we die in here? List index out of range. RIP. In the exploit step revisor, it did this. All right, so let's go see what happened here. So we get all of this up and running. Let's look at the last call to the browser agent, because that's going to tell us how far in the exploit steps it got. So I've successfully uploaded the PHP web shell with the modified extension. It was successful. Additionally, there is a new link labeled Veha, meaning hear or see or basically see or look, to go look at the file. Great. So RCE should still be false. Excellent. So then we're going to call PHP web shell diceco. Excellent. We see code execution. It executed the ID command. Perfect. And then the revisor should come back and say that is wonderful. Great. That's validated. Actually, I did not intend this because I intended this to work a little bit different, but there's no check to tell it if you're on the second to last one to do the stuff in the early RCE check. So let's see what it said. It came back with the RCE true. Great. So analyzing the exploit. So what? Hold on. Let's back up a bit here. So we have all our system instructions, right? We told it, hey, here's your context of previous activity. So we told it that we obtained a PHP web shell. We renamed the web shell extension to bypass upload restrictions. We accessed the web shell. We saw this data come back. Awesome. So then the language model spat back to us. At the provided context, I can see several key steps in the exploitation chain. It got the web shell. You navigated to panel. We had an attempt that was blocked. The attacker renamed the file, and then the upload happened with the command showing, or the output of the command showing this. So the last step is particularly significant. It shows the output, what appears to be the ID command executed on the server, revealing the user context. Let's see. Tool call ID. Oh, that was the tool call ID. Yeah. There's the content. Oh, we didn't take the input of it. Yeah, I see that now. See that? Anyway, that still works. It still got the code execution. So it marked it as true. But then the next thing it should be working on here is create the initial access exploit for the target. Awesome. So there's one more check we probably need to do at this point. Let's go look at the input step when it hits here. So if we go look down at the exploit steps, so as a quick reminder, there's actually 3 objects nested inside of here. We have a task object. Inside of that, we've got an exploit task. It's a different structure for holding different data. And then inside the exploit task, we've got the exploit steps. So the steps say you do these things in order to achieve the exploitation. So what we're doing now is this right here is the actual task. This is the exploit task, and these are the steps inside of there. So if we come look at this, our current step is step 6, which is, I believe, our final step. Yeah. Excellent. So we probably should go through and do one more check up here. Let me come back up here to the processor. Okay. Yeah, we can take this stuff out. We can take out the annoying debug command here. So we check for RCE, but we also want to check for something else, which is what we want to do is we want to check the length of the exploit steps. We're going to say on last step here. And we'll make that a Boolean. And we'll say if that is equal to the current step. Right here. Just like that. Bam. And in fact, actually, we should move this up a bit, come to think of it. Let's take this out. We're going to put it up here. So we're going to check to see if we're on that last step. So if the current step is greater than 0 and not on last step, just like that. There we go. So basically, if we're between steps 1 and steps n-1, then it can go down this branch. Otherwise, we're good. All right, I think everything else in here actually looked pretty good. Excellent, excellent. So now we got to figure out why did it error out in here. So let's see. So the actual task was, what was the name of it? Create initial access exploit for the target. So we may need to go through and add a little bit more information to the step processor up here and tell it that, hey, when you're creating an initial access exploit, you should do this. But it seemed to error out when we called our Python exec. That's really funny. I don't think it understood how to create the initial access exploit. I think that's what happened here. So then what happened to our revisor here? The revisor validated that? That's no bueno. So this is something that's really annoying, and that is something called a lazy solution. This is called a lazy solution when it comes to solving problems with a language model, and that we told it needed to create the initial access exploit. And so all it did is it created a code, basically. It says, based on the context, the web shell is accessible at. It puts a variable saying the web shell URL, makes a new line, and it says print the web shell URL, and just pop it in there. Oh, that's really dumb. Let me look at something in the revisor real quick. So in the revisor, I think we may have given it instructions about the initial access exploit. No, we did not. So it doesn't necessarily understand what the initial access exploit is. So actually over in the step processor is where we're going to have to drop this in. Okay, so we need to go, yeah, the system prompt right here, it's a little bit jacked up, and we need to add another instruction in here. Yep, so let's go do that. Let's bring over that prompt. Here, little prompts, where are you? Where's our prompts? There they are. All right, so there's our RCE check. This is our exploit step prompt right here. So first thing we're doing is we're missing a new line right here. Was there something else in here? Let's see. Actually, yeah, the structure of agents is a little bit funny. So we're told to choose the appropriate file name for any particular tool goals. Oh, I see what it is, because we only have the one in here. There's our one. So let's do a little bit of formatting of the prompt here. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to put in a divider like this. So it visually separates this section right here. Yep, just like that. And then we'll do the same thing. Just like that. So there's not a lot of prompt engineering that has gone into this project. I've been trying to keep the prompts as bare bones as possible. And basically we think of it as like an updatable solution whenever we have to go fix something in here. All right, so what we can do is, this is where we have it getting our list of agents. Here's our context, choose appropriate file name. So we don't have very much in here. So let's make another check right here, actually. Bring this back. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, we're going to make a definitions section. Like this. So definitions, we'll say initial access exploit. This is a, let's see, a single Python script to, let's see, replicate an exploit for executing at least one command on a system. Command on a target. And then I'm going to put one more little addition onto this. This is, there may be, what do we call the tool? Hold on, I got to remember. There we go. Let's put that in. We're gonna literally tell it, hey, look for tools that have this name that are associated with it. So look for tools, tool names that end in. Oh, come on. You copy that? Copy. You're killing me. We'll just type it in. Initial access exploit. That will auto-generate this code. The required code. Boom. Because what we did here is we actually made it a couple of helper functions in here. One is to get the artifact. One is to call it. And then, so we're using kind of like a verb, subject, and then like return style structure in here. So we can call that that web shell, or we can say, hey, go get it, or do this other one right here. Let's see. Is this the correct definition I want to use here? So a single Python script to replicate an exploit for executing a command on a target. Let's say a single command. A single command on a target. Look for tool names that end in initial access exploit that will auto-generate the required code. Okay. I think that will work for now. So one of the things that this project, once we actually get through this section here. So right now, there's two more primary agents we actually have to work on, which are so right now we've got these three primary agents. And then there's a fourth one over here that we're going to work on for post-exploitation. And then after post-exploitation, we have to go work on Stinger. Right now, Stinger's a very dumb supervisor. It doesn't really do anything. Eventually, right now, we seed it with data. We're going to take that away. And then Stinger can go through and start coming up with his own task. Like, okay, here's how I want to do the scanning. Here's how I want to do the enumeration. And work through and pass those off to these agents to go do that. When that's happening, once this part is actually done, there may be one more thing we do, which is a very basic user interface so we can see what's happening. After that point, though, basically, we're going to stop adding functionality and we're going to go back and start from recon and start cleaning up and modularizing the code a little bit more. So right now, I'm not super thrilled with how the prompts are set up. I want to break them out into actual text files so it's easier to go fix, basically to redo these. So there's a lot of different areas that I think are ripe for improvement. In fact, I know they are because I started this project not knowing how to Python, not knowing how to code Python very well, and I've gotten better. So I've seen areas for improvement as we come through this. That's what she said clip laughing. Yeah, hang on one second. Snowstorm, I like this one. Let me see if I can find it real fast. Let me see. By the way, guys, let me know what you think about the audio for the background music, because like I said, I'm still tweaking it. I added a bunch of new songs. Hey, Lavin, thanks for the gifted sub over to Enigma, man. Appreciate it. He's gifting shells. Actually, I had a couple of funny ones in here. Hang on a second. One sec. So there was one in here. Let me see if I can find this real quick. So I was not crazy. So for everybody who wasn't on last night, I was playing Alan Wake just as like a Halloween spoopy stream. I had a very, very long week at work. And I saw something, and I thought I was going insane. So I threw the clip in a little bit ago. Hang on one second. Where's desktop audio? Check this out.
So, folks, as promised, our very own Dr. Nelson has just parked his rear end in the studio. Doc,
so I'm sitting here. I'm just investigating this little cabin in the woods with my flashlight, you know. Oh, I lost all my weapons. Lame. And then I thought I saw that. Look at my face. Hold on. I was like, I know I saw that. And all the times I played Alan Wake, I've never seen something like that happen. And it just completely caught me off guard. But the clip that Laughlin's actually talking about is this one. We're just sitting there running through the game. And this cracked me up. Why is that giant log there just swinging? That's what she said. I know, I'm juvenile, but you know what? It was funny to me. I should start up a Let's Play series and do a YouTube playlist. I don't know, maybe. So I couldn't even stream onto YouTube or Kick last night. That's what was a beatdown. And I had the same issue I was having today. So I thought maybe my GPU was just getting maxed out by Alan Wake, which was weird because I've streamed, what the hell's the name of the game? Helldivers, and didn't have that issue. So I don't know what was causing it. Actually, I thought about doing a Let's Watch playlist, Bobby, because my wife and I have been watching Eureka, you know, the old sci-fi show, right? And it was going to be called All of Eureka's Problems Are IT Problems. And basically everything that happened in Eureka is a failure of IT management. Every single problem, every single episode, I'm like, that's not how this works. That's not what that does. So I have really thought about doing that. If I could ever find some time. I'm still learning on editing videos and figuring out what they're doing. Dude, it's seriously, every single problem in Eureka was an IT failure. Okay, I think I know what the problem here is. And that is, when we get to the exploit step router here, we got an index list out of range. Where was that? So that was on line 450 in the step router. Okay. Actually, why was that in the step router? Hold on. What did the revisor do here? So one thing I need to go do actually in the step revisor is I need to go update that real fast because I learned a new trick. Let me bring this back over. Let's see. Where was that? We learned this new trick, which I should have already known. Oh, wait, I didn't put that in the right one? Oh, that's okay. Let me see. Tool choice. We need to tell this you're always going to do this one right here. Because one time it actually failed to do the RCE check, but this time we're gonna force it. So whenever we bind with tools, we could send it all the tools, but we could force a check in here, or force a choice. And when we're doing this kind of pseudo bind to get a structured output, this is how we're doing it. The reason why I'm not doing a structured output, though, is because when we do that, we lose all of the information from the language model. Like all of its output with its kind of train of thought, all that just disappears. So instead, we do it this kind of backdoor way, where we do it, we send the structured output as a tool, and then we force it to use that tool in there. So I still got to go look at the revisor here. So that said it was on line 450, if I remember correctly. Where was that error that it happened? It happened down here in the step router. Yeah, exploit agent line 450. Exploit step task current index. Ah, I see why. Yep, I see why. It's because I believe it's exploit step revisor actually increments that value. So when it got to this point, so if we look at the input for this, so it's trying to get basically the current step index value from the exploit task steps, right? So if we go look at the steps here, and then let's see. So our steps, we had 6 of them, if I remember right. Yeah. So we had 6 steps, current step 7. That's why this is failing in here. And so it's because of this exploit step revisor. So we actually need to walk back up the chain to the revisor. And we need to add a safety check in there. Yeah, that's what we need to do. So where do we actually set that? When we return this, we return tasks. Let's see, if insert step, then we do that. Where do we actually update the current step? Let's see. Current step +1, that's where it is. So that's if it's validated. Yeah, so we need to fix this real quick. Somewhere in here, I believe we've got, let me put a line on that, because that's the one we're going to be working on. So in the revisor here, let's see. Did we pull out our usual helpers here? Let's see. Exploit task, current step, exploit step. So that's our current step value right there. And then we do our exploit step. This gets us, yeah, there we go. This gets us our actual exploit step right here. But do we get a list of our steps? Actually, yeah, we can do that. Our exploit task right here. This is our actual exploit task. So what we want to do is, let me fix this up a bit here. This should be an exploit step right here. Let me fix some of my formatting real quick. There we go. All right, because now what we're going to do is, I don't know why it keeps doing this. I expected an exploit step, but I got an exploit step. I was like, it's the same thing, bro. I don't know why it throws an error like that. I don't know why it does that. Anyway, what we can do though is we can actually take a look at exploit steps right here. We can just pull this guy out. Where do we want to do that? We need to do that here. So we'll say, I believe we can do this as a tertiary. What is that? I think what we would do is we would say exploit step equals current step. And then we'd say if they're equal, then we return just whatever current step is. No, I take that back. This I think should be a question mark. Am I getting my... I think I'm getting my syntax confused with... I think I'm getting my JavaScript syntax actually in here. Because the other one should be current step +1. Yeah, I know that's not correct. And I hate to have to look this up again. Python... Let's see. Assign variable by if statement. Yes, the ternary operator. Here's what I'm looking for. Oh, so it's the true for condition else failing condition. There we go. That's what it is. True if condition else failing condition. That's what it is. Okay. So we're going to do current step plus 1 if exploits... No, current step if exploit step equals current step, and then we'll do else current step plus 1. There we go. Yeah, so it's true. It's true result if condition else failing result. That's it. So what this will do is we're going to set it to this if it's here. Actually, we want to probably swap this up a bit. We're going to do plus 1 if these two are not equal. There we go. Because this is the one that's going to come up the most often. So I want it to, basically, I'm trying to save a little bit of time thinking about how the execution flow is going to happen. I want it to error out as soon as it's going to come up there. Hey, Austin, what's up, dude? Hadn't seen your name in chat in a long time, brother. Hope you've been doing well. And I hope everybody's having an absolutely fantastic Saturday. I had a really good one. So the place we took the kids to is like a all-you-can-play arcade. They've got a little party room in there. And so the kids were just running around like mad. Now, I already told you that I had to give Agent Zero a little bit of a butt chewing because he stayed at my brother's house last night. And my brother woke up in the middle of the night and at like 3 a.m. and found him still awake, just lounging on the couch, watching YouTube. So I had to give him a bit of a butt chewing because, okay, he stays up late at my brother's house. I get that. He's the funkle. That's supposed to happen. 3 a.m. is beyond excessive for a 6-year-old. So I had to give him a little bit of butt chewing. And he was so tired. You could tell he was powering through to enjoy all the games. They're all retro games, right? It's like a retro arcade. And he was playing Mario, he was playing Pac-Man, he was playing Sonic the Hedgehog, stuff like that. So it was still a really good day, though. Oh no, someone got a hold of my funder on PSN and bought 9 Roblox chargers with your money. Dude. So your friend was helping you on video chat with that? RIP. So I'm not sponsored by these guys either. It's one of the few places I would like to be sponsored by, but I use this service here. It's literally just called privacy.com. It is fantastic. So the way this works is you can tie this to your bank account. It uses Plaid. It didn't used to. That's my only gripe about the service. I'm not a big fan of Plaid, but it's super helpful for what it does. And that is you can tie this over to your checking account, and then you can make virtual credit cards with it. And you can make one for each vendor. So think of this as like a password safe for your credit cards. The great thing about it is, too, once you tie this to a vendor, so when that first transaction hits, it cannot be used by another vendor. Super awesome. So after I had a scenario one time where my primary credit card got leaked and somebody was using it to pay for Netflix. And then I was like, okay, I figured it out. I had them issue me a new card. Well, Netflix has this really great feature. And it's not just them, it's a bunch of them. But anyway, I'm picking on Netflix. Where if your card updates, then they just update it for you. So it doesn't interrupt your subscription, right? Well, great. It updated for me and for the scammer. So I was paying for 2 Netflix for like a year and a half before I realized it. Because it's a very small amount, right? Anyway, so after that, a buddy told me about privacy.com. It's really great. Every place that I have to go make one, I go spin up a new card, and that becomes the regular recurring payment for it. It also has a really cool, what I call cloaking feature, where when I go pay for something, it doesn't show up as the actual payer in my bank statement. It shows up as the NSA gift shop. So I don't see it over in my banking information, but on privacy, I see all the transactions and where they went and how things happened. So I really like this service. It's been super helpful for me. And then actually I had an issue come up where I was buying a gun part. I was buying a part, like a barrel attachment for one of my rifles. And I did exactly what I always do. I spun up a privacy card. I used that. Everything seemed to be hunky dory. Like, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 hours later, I started instantly getting hits on that card that were declined because they were from Uber Eats, and that wasn't where the card was set to process. So, yeah, a little bit funny there, right? So I think their payment processing system got popped when that happened. But I love this system. Here, in fact, let me drop a link to this real quick. Like I said, I'm not sponsored by these guys, although this is one of the few companies I would eventually one day like to be sponsored by, because I use it every single day. Netflix so good. Even their fraud assists are peak performance. I know, right? Let's see. So they couldn't even access the login for because you changed your login for Roblox. Oh, that still sucks, man. Can you make a fake name to go with the card? Actually, yes, you can. It doesn't do any name checking. It doesn't really care about that. It cares about. I don't think it even cares about your zip code in there. So it's really good from like a privacy standpoint. One of the drawbacks is some payment processors will flat out decline to use a privacy card. I'd say it's probably maybe 5% of the time. I haven't had very many issues with it. Yeah, just the card number, CVC, and date. It doesn't really care about address. It doesn't really care about name or zip code or anything like that. They can't use their account at all because if it's a pass key. Nice. My son, so Agent Zero keeps begging to play on Roblox, and I keep telling him, no, dude. For one, you're not old enough to go get onto Roblox. I don't want you interacting with people on the internet because I grew up on the internet and I know what kind of people are on the internet. That's awesome that he had the passkey on there. That's really smart. Passkeys are such a cool piece of technology. I need to dig. I understand the theory behind the passkeys. I need to go dig deeper into the actual implementation of the passkeys and the protocols to them. Let me check something real quick. Yeah, let me go ahead and add some more time for this real fast. All right, so now we have our new check here, so it shouldn't fail out. Let me see if I can actually do something real quick. We don't have it in here because I switched off of it. Do we still have this one in memory? Yeah, this is the one that errored. I think I can rerun from here. Yes, I should have been using this feature all along because if I had... Wait, then what happened? I just reran it from there. Did the code not swap in? What happened? Oh, that's why. The current step index. Different line, so 447. So we need to go modify that. I should have been using the time travel feature a lot more. So actually, you know what makes the most sense in here? Where did we add that new piece of code? It actually makes the most sense to go through and... Did I take that out? Where was it? Okay, got an idea here. There it is. I see it. Okay. So I think what we're going to do is, actually, we're going to take this out right here. Actually, we're going to copy this. Oh, wait, I see why it's doing it. Yeah, so what happened is it's already been updated in here when it ran. So we actually need to go back even further. We need to go back up the chain a bit. We want to rerun, I think, from here. Yeah, rerun from here. There we go. because now it should have hot loaded in the new code, and it should hopefully now what the crap. 44, what's up, brother? Oh, your sister had a little girl. That's awesome, dude. Some friends from my church in a couple weeks. Their sixth child is due. So during their vows, when it was essentially go forth and multiply, they took that very seriously. And it's a little girl too. Tariseg, thanks for coming online. I hope I said that right. Tariseg, what's up, man? Thanks for coming online. I hope you're having a fantastic Saturday. I do know what today is. I was a little tired today because I stayed up way too late playing Alan Wake on stream last night for Halloween. It was a really fun. I played the remaster, and the graphics do look really stellar. I like it. And I forgot how good that game is. And there was a lot of stuff that I missed the last time I played it, which was like, I don't know, probably closer to 6 or 7 years ago. It's a really great game. So in the future, identity will come at an extra premium when all the other methods of auth are deprecated and ineffective. So you'll be pinpricked for a blood sample to perform regular transactions on the web and IRL. Invest in blood futures now. But yeah, no, Bobby, it's like Gattaca, right? Everything they want to do, pinprick, little blood sample. What's this software? It looks like Postman and N8N had a hacker baby. Kind of. So we're using, what we're doing is we're making an AI hacking bot to go play Try Hack Me or Hack the Box eventually. We're still very, very early in the development. I only work on this on the weekends. So for about 6 hours, because I stream 3 hours on Saturday, 3 hours on Sunday. And then we do usually hacker news on Wednesday. Sometimes I'll work on code. I'll just say, hey, there's nothing cool in the news cycle. Let's just work on the code. So I work on it on average 6 hours a week. We started about in February. But what we've got going on here is we've got a very cool system. Let me come back here. Where this is all nothing spectacular. This is just a visual representation of the code, but it is designed to go through and basically perform recon, enumeration, exploitation, and then we've got one more agent we need to add over here called post-exploitation, and then we actually need to go add some intelligence to Stinger. Stinger doesn't do anything right now. It just does very simple task parsing. It's all in code. It's not doing any language model calls. So we'll go fix up Stinger to where it's its own beast in here. But what it's designed to do is eventually we should just be able to say, hey, here's the target and here's maybe a description of it, a little bit of information about the target system, and then let it go forth and attempt to hack it. And it's actually doing a pretty good job. The issue we're running into right now is in the exploitation agent, what we've got is this cool little graph where the exploitation agent looks at all the data or the task that it's given and says, okay, I need to go exploit this with a web shell. Great. So then what we do is we pass it to the planner. The planner says, okay, to do that web shell exploit, I need to do steps A, B, C, D, E, and F. And then it goes through this loop right here that's like an error correcting execution loop. So the processor looks at each of those steps. It decides how it's going to try and execute it to get it to work. And then we've got the reviser here that's basically making corrections as it goes through that loop to check and see what's happening. The issue we've run into is we actually hit the end of the list and it's failing to route back up to the agent. So when the reviser is actually the one that looks at this and says, hey, we're actually done, we can route back up to the exploitation agent and say, we're good. So we're fixing up a little bit of the code over here in the reviser right now. Speaking of N8N, I need to go work on my N8N setup. I had to take the local AI host offline, my local server back here. I don't know what was up with it, but it was running loud, like it was chugging, but there were no processes running on it, So I had to take it down. Thanks, Tino. Hey, if you want to check it out, there's Blaise bits up on GitHub. And all the code is currently live. It's hot garbage right now, just to be perfectly frank with you. But the repo is called Hack the Bot. So eventually this repo will be archived, probably not for many, many months. And what we'll do is we'll archive this, we'll spit it out into an actual like maintainable repo with all the bells and whistles. This is just a developer repo right now, but I usually go through and I post up all the code after I work on it. So pretty much every night that I stream, we do a new code push. Is this a web front end? So actually, this front end is from LangChain, and this is called the LangGraph Studio. So those are the two primary frameworks we're using, LangGraph and LangChain. And this is actually a free tool that they provide for you to be able to use this. So eventually we will make a web front end, and I would like to have something like this embedded in there. I don't know how I'm going to do that, and I really suck at UI. Go figure. But I probably will use a lot more AI for that portion. And so even over here in the tracing, all of this tracing data is just provided for free from LangChain. I'm using a free developer account. So this is the LangGraph Studio, which actually shows us the nodes and how they're linked. Everywhere you see a dashed line, that's a conditional jump. It means we have a function that happens post this node that tells it where to go. And anything that's a solid line is a hard jump. So load pickle will always execute over to exploit agent. Yeah, fun stuff. All right, so where is this? Let's go look at this trace again real quick. I think it was this one that had the full list here. So when we go into the revisor, what was the current step set to? Let me drill down to it. Current step was 7 as we went into the revisor. So let me look at the output state from the step update. Let me scroll. This is so much data. Current step was 6 right here. This is our return data, right? It has to be. Yeah, this was our output data right here. Only thing we emitted back to the, as we updated the task here. Let's see. Yeah, current step 6. But at the input of revisor, current step was 7. Damn it, I had to look this up before. I remember. We had to go trace down where it was doing that. Current step 7 as it comes into here. That's wild. You could load my pickle anytime. That's right. Gotta be gherkin that gherkin. Time is it? Is it almost 10 already? Dang. I'll tell you what, I gotta run and take care of something, guys. I'll be right back. Damn it, Cypher, I'm not pooping. Ah, crap. Dropped my headphones. let's see. So I'm currently building an internal dev tool in an attempt to make me more productive by automating all the things boilerplate to ramp up client onboarding. Nice. It involves node-based configuration, especially for all the data models. So I'm using React Flow. I've not seen React Flow. Let me go take a look at that. What is React Flow? Hold on. There we go. I had to put my ears back on. Node-based UIs in React. Ooh. That's pretty. Oh. Damn it. I was hoping not to do the UI in React, Tino, and then you had to go tell me about this. Oh, that's sick. All right, that's pretty. Look at that. Look at that. Pyramid. Color. Oh. Yes. Sexy purple. Sexy purple cubes. Oh, that's so cool. Damn it, Tino. I was really going to try to avoid using React for the front end. I'll have to see if I can find something else like this, but this is sick. That's gorgeous. And actually, yeah, that would be a really cool way to go through and like build that visual. Man, why you gotta do me dirty like that, Tino? I keep trying to avoid React, and all you people just keep pulling me back in. I think I had a to-do list. Hold on. I gotta see if I actually still have it in here. To-do. Yep, I do. Hang on. I'm gonna throw that in the to-do list. The to-do list was a good idea, and then I just don't ever really pay attention to it. Potential future issues. Let's see. Let's add a new one in here. Potential future components. And then let's put this. React Flow. Let's add a really sick React UI thingy. Throw that in there for now. What do you mean, you people? All of you trolls, and you are king of them. Laughing. You and Cypher, like, it's like Tweedle Troll and Tweedle Troller. Yeah, different kind of React, Bobby. I hope the React UI feels better soon. Dude, so right now, I mean, we're not using our own UI over here, and building the UI is probably going to be a massive pain in the butt. But eventually also, I wanted to have over here is that we'll have this user input. Right now, it's the initializer that handles this part. I think the initializer will still be in there. We'll probably rename it to something else. But in fact, actually, I think the initializer is probably just going to get 86'd out of here. I don't know. We'll see. It might just get rolled over, or it's probably going to be modified. I think we're still going to keep it in here. But there eventually will be a loop from Stinger that says, hey, I don't know what to do, and pass it back up to the user and let it run this way. I like when things are beautiful out of the box, and I really suck at UI. I do too, man. I do enjoy a good user interface. And in fact, I'm going to take some credit for a lot of the UI updates over to the Mythic C2, because I'm the one who keeps telling Cody, it's like, hey, by the way, it'd be really cool if you could do this, and really cool if you could do that. Or, hey, I expect I should be able to do this in the UI, like by clicking here. And he's like, oh, that's a really cool feature. Or I was like, hey, man, something's completely broken. He's like, oh, you didn't select a thing. I was like, well, it didn't warn me I didn't select a thing. So he would put in like, you know, basically making it idiot proof, because I'm a really good idiot. So I could come in and I could turn on smooth brain mode with the best of them and say, hey, man, this is what I'm running into. He would go make the updates to the UI. I don't believe in UIs. So Lopta, I would love to make a terminal user interface too. And I don't know, but those are really future endeavors. This project had a couple of goals. One, help me learn how to write a code base from scratch. I've been a professional pen tester for 7 years now, and I've been in IT for 15 years. And so modifying and hacking on code, not a problem. I've done that probably literally since fifth or sixth grade when I was messing around with computers. But building code from scratch, like a lot of code and developing it, completely different story. So I wanted to do that with this project. The other thing was learning how these agentic systems are working because a lot of my clients are starting to implement it. And this has actually already paid big dividends in that way because I've been able to go through and abuse some of those systems that have come up in tests. So my manager knows I'm working on this. A bunch of the folks at work are like always excited to hear about the Monday update to HackBot of like what I did to it over the weekend. And so it's been a fun project. It's been a long-lived project. I think also once the exploitation agent's done, I don't say I think, I know. I'm going to ask Cody, the developer for Mythic C2. I'm going to ask him to come back up on the stream and we can do like a planning session. Obviously, like, okay, how do we need to handle the interactions over to Mythic? So the quick recap here and new stuff for everybody who's new here. So the exploitation agent's job is to get an object back for us called the initial access exploit. The initial access exploit should tell us how to go run this on another from another point in the graph that says, oh, I need to execute some piece of code on that computer. How do I do that? Actually, I take that back. Let's back up a bit. The initial access exploit actually only exists for one reason, and that is to get it over to the post-exploitation agent, which we haven't started yet. And the post-exploitation agent's job, PostEx, his job is going to be to upgrade that initial access exploit to a C2 connection. So go through and it will get a command and control session onto that computer. So that's what this is for. In fact, now that I think about it, we probably need to go make a structured system for the initial access exploit. I'm not going to do it this second, though. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow night. I still want to go work on running this exploitation node again. I wonder if I can rewind to the exploitation processor here. Let's see. Let me see. Where did we... So here's where the error occurred in the revisor. We still had the same error on exploit step update. We forked it from there. I don't know why that didn't. Let's go ahead and just do a new run of this and we'll let it. No, that's not what I want to do. What if I rerun from here? Let me make sure the code's saved into here real fast. Hang on. So let's see. Because as we make these changes, they should be hot loaded in. And I think it did. Let me see here. Here's our exploit step update. That should go down to the revisor. I need to change this. This is like, I think, max retries. Make a minor update there. And then, IT makes me sad. I like, actually, IT. And believe it or not, I tell a lot of folks, if you're going to work in offensive security professionally, then you pretty much have to be a kind of a sysadmin. So I was literally walking a client through how to do a certain thing in their environment and explaining certain things about their own environment to them, because it's just stuff I had learned while working with them. And so having that kind of sysadmin background helps out a ton. One of the absolute best hackers that I know, who's an absolute beast, found a really cool, he's got a list of CVEs like long as your arm. His name is Rich, and super great guy. And he was a Linux admin for like 20 years before he went into offensive security. Or maybe it was like 15 years. I don't know. It was a long time, right? And he would come in and just start wrecking house, especially anytime he landed on a Linux system. He was just in there like Hulk smash going through that system. Let me see. I think it loaded up everything. I gotta find something real quick, actually. Let's see. PyCharm, ignore type warning. What was this? That's no inspection. Let's see. Using no QA is more general to suppress all inspections of the line. Oh, okay. So apparently we can... suppress for a statement, suppress for function. There we go. Because this was such... Hold on, let me take this out. So what... No! Don't do that. No. No, 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 no. So here's what's happening. So we get the little yellow squiggly of annoyance here, right? When I hover over this, I don't know if for some reason the type checker in PyCharm is just losing its mind. Expected a type of exploit step, got a type of exploit step instead. So instead, what we can do is we can put a little syntax sugar in here that tells PyCharm, don't inspect it for this line. I need to go do that for a bunch of these others in here because it's driving me nuts. My beard's getting tangled. One time I forgot to lock my workstation and Rich posted a Facebook next day on my hack. Next level perm hacking. So actually, I would do that to my coworkers all the time. If they left their workstation unlocked, I would just open Notepad and I'd leave a little note that said Blaise was here, and then I would lock their workstation. And then they'd come back and unlock it, and I would just hear from across the office, "Damn it, Blaise!" Gotta lock that workstation. Another thing I would do is on their computer mouse right here, right? There's the optical sensor right there. On right there. I would just put a piece of tape over it. And then they'd come and sit down and they'd be just like, tick, tick, what's wrong with my mouse? And they'd look on the bottom, they'd see the tape, and it was just jacking up the sensor. Yeah, I was a big old office troll. Have to put on the pony wallpaper. I thought about doing that, Bobby, because obviously I had my rubber ducky, so I thought about putting a ducky script on there to just do that. Go set the wallpaper to like My Little Pony or something. No! Shut up, baby. I know it. Hey, Marky, what's up, man? Do you have multiple definitions of an exploit step? So no, an exploit step is actually a data structure we defined over here. Actually, take that back. It's over here in the states table right here. So in states, we actually have three things, and these are actually listed in reverse order. So we have a task. The tasks actually end up in the actual overall state here. So when you pass between these nodes in the graph, you've got one singular object, which is like your book of truth, and that is the state table. So every time one of these edges gets traversed and it enters this function, it passes the entire state table. We can then return changes to the state table that get merged into it as we exit a node from here. So inside the state table, we've got a list of tasks, and it literally is a list in here. And that's a task object. So these task objects right here are just typed dictionaries, but they've got these predefined fields over in them. And then inside of this, whenever we have a task that's a type exploit task, or that's for exploitation, we actually have a special one that gets nested under that called an exploit task. And then inside of that, we have steps. And that's a list of exploit steps, which is this data structure here. And we can actually, I can show it to you real fast here. Let's see. So if we look at the data here, this is a normal task, right? Normal task, we have some output of things that happened as we're going through it. Let's see. Yes. So this was an enum task right here. And the task was examine those discovered directories and which ones have URL upload forms. That was it. Boom. So go figure out which ones have it. We get a list of outputs and a list of, actually, I think this was all just output right here. I think we ran it twice, and that's why it did this. But we also have a list of tool calls, so these kind of sync up right here, where we see what we've got going on for it. And so that's a normal task. But an exploit task, we had to make buckets for it to be able to experiment and fail. Because not every first attempt you're going to have for exploitation is going to work. So the way this is structured is inside of the task in the output field, we have an exploit task. That exploit task is then a container for all the steps that need to get executed as it comes through. So if all these steps are set up correctly, then we would get code execution for the exploit. If they fail, what happens is this actually gets passed back up to the exploitation agent. It says, okay, I see we failed. Let's do this a different way. It comes down to the planner. Planner creates all the steps, and then it goes through this error correcting loop of modifying and executing the steps in here. So we can have multiple exploit tasks nested under that singular task right there. So I wanted to give it a way to do a kind of speculative tasking where it could try something and fail and error correct as it comes back through. Just chilling. How you been? Dude, I've been busy as all get out. I'm on a really hard red team right now. And it's funny because it's not actually hard in the sense of I don't know how to operate in the environment. I'm having a hard time getting into the environment. I can already see where they've got issues in there, but I can't get a stable connection back to my C2. It's been really funky. I think they are unwittingly secure through obscurity and dysfunction. So I've been having a good time with it. I've got one more week left on it. And as soon as I can get that stable C2 connection, it's game over. I'm going to finish my primary and probably secondary objective once I'm in there. So the primary objective is the really important one. Obviously, that's why it's primary. I was just wondering why PyCharm is detecting different definitions of exploit step with the bonkers type checking yellow squiggles. I have no idea, man. I have no idea. And it's not the only place that it does that. I think because it has so much... Ah, damn it, I closed it. I think because it has so much to dig through in the state table. Because look at this. The state table, I'm collapsing it down, but there's a lot of stuff in here. I think it's just so many nested structures that it's losing track of where it is. That's the only thing I can think of in here. So I'm not sure why it's giving me the weird yellow squiggle. I like the self-error correcting. What do you have to prevent it from locking into a loop? So there's actually two things that happen in there today. And that is, one, we've got loop counters to where if certain activities happen too many times, we're going to say, okay, this has probably failed. Also, there's a hard check in there. Oh, Tino, thanks for coming online, man. Appreciate it, dude. There's something in LangGraph called the recursion limit. And that is, if it hits a certain number of nodes too many times, then it fails out. It just hard stops. And Atude, thank you for coming online. Welcome in, guys. I hope you're all having an absolutely stupendous Saturday. I need to go with some more S adjectives for Saturdays. All right, I think I'm just going to have to run this one from scratch. Let's just spin up a new thread and let it run, and we'll see if the new changes to the error correction work. That was awfully public. I was hoping to follow you in a nonchalant way. Never. The sock is always watching. They see when you come online. Let me see if I can do that.
Let's echo 23, see what's up.
Yeah, we're going to echo 23. Always nice to meet a fellow member of the red team and see what they're working on. Oh, dude, that's awesome. I like coming in here because there's so many folks that are like, hey, I'm working on this or I'm working on that. What should I do and which way should I go with it? And so I like to be able to come in, share what information I've got, what little bit of hard-fought knowledge I have. Let me see something here. All right. So... all right, it's going through the error correcting loop. So there's actually a couple of, since you were asking about the error correction, there's a couple of things that can happen in here. One is if the exploit task fails, it can come back up to the agent, which you can barely make out right now, and it can try another loop in here. And I think it can do that 3 times. I think that's the hard-coded value I used. Another one is if it goes through this loop too many times, then it will bail out to the exploitation agent. And then the reviser right here, the exploit step revisor will actually go through and make corrections. Or if it realizes that in this case, it needs to upload a PHP web shell, but .php is blocked on the server side as an upload extension, then it comes through and it makes a correction to where it says, okay, I need to step back. I need to do a previous step to this, and I need to rename the file from .php to something else, PHTML, PHP5, something else. And so it can insert a previous step to go through and do that. When it does that, it actually takes that list, puts it above it, does the rename, and then basically retries that next step of maybe uploading the web shell. So the revisor can either make corrections to the current step, or it can make a new step and put it previous to this one in the list. And then when it comes back to the processor, it hits that new step first as it goes down the task list, basically. Hey, Frozen, what's up, brother? I'm working on an 880 computer class, which will hopefully teach people enough that they don't need red team as much and can be safe. Dude, I think a lot of people misunderstand where red team and pen testing kind of fit into the security lifecycle of a company. If you are not working at a high level, you don't need a red team. And so let's define those terms. A red team is somebody's coming in low and slow and quiet and trying to evade detection to achieve an objective. Penetration test is more like, I call it a smash and grab. Get in, find what you can, don't worry about being noisy, or hey, just don't worry about being detected while you're trying to achieve your objective. Those are what a penetration test is. And I do both. I do pen tests, I do red teams. Occasionally I do a web app, but that's not very frequent anymore with my new employer. And I go through and I work through those problems with the client. I like working with them and helping them see where the pitfalls are. Thank you for asking, Lopta, because I was wondering, what's an 880 course? Anywhere between 8 and 80 years old. Got it. Okay. Mostly with small businesses. Yes, an SMB probably should not need a red team engagement. At most, they would make most use of either just like some basic stuff, which I'm sure you're covering in that course, which is like, hey, make sure you're applying patches, make sure you don't have over super provisioned accounts, make sure that you've got, what else is it? Make sure you have an asset inventory. So you just know where all your stuff actually lives in the environment. A lot of times the things that I go through and abuse are systems that they've completely forgotten about. So as I was working with this one client, it's a scenario I see fairly common where it looked like there was a really cool path from one user to a bunch of systems. But then as you start digging down into it, you look at those systems, you realize those are ghost systems in Active Directory. They don't actually exist anymore. Just the accounts for that computer still exist in Active Directory. Those computers were long gone, blown away many years ago. And so as we looked at it, it's like, okay, yeah, technically they do have the ability to go through and do stuff with that account, but it's not going to get them anywhere. It's not going to get them anything useful. What color hat would I be wearing if I accidentally gain access to an admin system? That question would actually depend on what your next step is. If you go through and you pillage and burn the system, that would be a black hat. If you go through and you actually warn them and say, hey, by the way, you've got a really bad bug and I exploited it and I completely owned your system, that would be a white hat. Or if you want to take the more, I don't know what the term is. A more sensible approach, it'd be whatever hat you currently have on and just be a good person and don't be a jerk. The don't be a jerk hat. That's the one I recommend to everybody. Magenta hat. There you go. All right, where did this one error out? Let's go take a look at it. I think let's see, index out of range. Oh, no. Oh, I know what happened here. Let's come back. What in the hell are you doing? Why are you running Nmap? Why are you running HTTPX detect? Why are you running Python execute? This is one of those things where like sometimes the language model itself can just go freaking off the rails. let's examine this one. So if we look at the steps planned out, the steps planned out are get a web shell artifact, navigate to the upload panel, upload it, access it from the uploads, test web shell execution using an ID like command. Okay, good. Those are solid steps. There's one that's missing from this list. There's actually a hard-coded last step that gets added to this list that says basically craft the initial access exploit. Not a big deal. It runs through here. We see it get the DiceCo artifact. And then it does call the browser agent, which spins up a web browser for it in a Docker container that it can completely control. And so it navigates to it. But then, where does it go off the rails here? Let's see. What's our task for this one? Upload it through the shell, or upload the shell? Okay. Here's where it tries to upload it. And then this is going to fail because the upload... Actually, we can see it right here. So the browser agent, you don't see it in the graph, but this special agent node, what it will do is it will spin down another agent over here that you can't see because it's not defined as a hard graph in here. But when it does that, it's basically interacting with a browser in a Docker container and spinning it up and running it. So when it did that, the very last thing we tell it is, hey, always summarize what you did. So it attempted to upload the PHP shell. We got PHP not permitted. And then, so now what should happen is the revisor should do an insert step. Insert step true. And the new step is rename the PHP web shell with .jpeg. No. 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 Bad. Bad. You're not supposed to rename it to .jpeg. All right, let's see what happened here, though. So it renames the file. Why did the rename fail? Hold on. So it renamed it to WebShell PHP, WebShell JPEG. Okay, so the exploit revisor is going to fail that because it's not going to end in a .jpeg extension. Rename the file to have a .jpeg extension instead of JPEG PHP to upload bypass filtering. Okay. So then it renames again. So that's part of the error the error correction loop there. So then it renames it to webshell.jpg. All right. Wait, why is it doing another? Did the revisor fail it again? Let's see. Failed. It did. Hold on. I think it's hallucinating here. So the task was rename the PHP shell to have a .jpeg extension instead of jpeg.php. And then the tool call here says, hey, we got a .jpeg. And then it failed it saying, okay, I think we need to go do... Yeah, we need to go fix this. Because here's what's happening. It's seeing the information here and it's losing track of, it's basically the attention heads are losing focus. They don't know what they're focusing on, what they're not focusing on. And when that happens, it's seeing JPEG PHP and it's saying that this task failed. It just went off the rails. Why are you the way you are? Exactly, Bobby. Hey, Gloom, thanks for coming online, man. Welcome in. I hope everybody's having an absolutely just a stellar Saturday. It is a good day. Okay, so this one just went completely, amazingly off the rails here. I think part of this is, so we have a context preparation function that happens in here that builds whatever this output is for the revisor. I think what we need to do is we need to modify this because we don't just want to get the output. I believe we also want to get the tool call itself. So this doesn't actually tell us what tool we called. This just tells us what the output of the call was. So let's go fix that up over in the revisor real fast here. Let's see. So where's our revisor? So this was our language model call right here. And where do we prepare the prompt? Here we go. So there's our task output. Our task output was format tool output right here. Where did we actually have this? Format tool output. There we go. Tools output. Oh, is that where that was coming from? Let me see if I see that in here. Unfortunately, we get a lot of data that happens back in here. So there we go. So there's the tool. There's the... Yep. Okay. So it is coming back through here. I need to finally set up the remote debugging on this guy. All right. Let's see here. So we have the tools and we have the output. So I think what we want to do though is we want to change the outputs though, because here's what we're seeing. We're getting this big long JSON object, right? We don't need that. All we need is the content. So I think we just need to get the content out of that, but we also want the tool name. So we'll do like tool name and then we'll do content there from it. Yeah, let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and comment this part out real fast. So we do, let's see, for I and tool in enum tools, we get the tool call from the outputs right here. What do we take in here? We take in a list of the tools here. Hold on, I gotta remember how I called this sucker. Did I? I did. Takes the list of tools and a list of outputs, returns a single dictionary, inserting them into the language. For inserting into the language model context. Okay, so we already have a list of our tools in here. How do I want to do this? Thanks, Lopta, I appreciate it. It's a fun one, though. I'm having a good time actually coding this sucker and just having a blast with it. It looks really fun. I kind of want to throw it at my honeypot firewall and see what it detects. Sadly, my lab environment's still offline after a big move. I understand, man. Actually, I need to do a little bit of care and feeding to my Ludus server here at the house. It's up and it's working. I'm just not doing a ton with it. I realized I had some stuff that I wanted to do as part of this red team that would have been super helpful. I need to go back and do some care and feeding on it. I haven't been messing with it very much. Right now, though, today it's pretty much tuned just for doing like CTFs. Eventually, I've put in structures to where it should be able to do multi-lab, like multi-computer environments, something like Game of Active Directory. That's one of the systems I'm really keen to throw it against. That's going to be a bit, though. It's going to take it a little bit until it gets to that point. Right now, I'm just trying to get it to solve like a simple CTF box. And I'm trying to build it in a way where it's scalable like that, so where in the future we can get that information. But I'm not going to actually know until I try to run it against it. So we enum the tools, and then we go get the output here. Oh, that's why. So this is a, let me type these things out. This is a, that's a dictionary. What happened there? There we go. This is supposed to return a dictionary. I think instead what I want to do is actually return a string for this. Yeah, let's fix this guy up real quick. Let's make this where it's going to return a string, and we'll just start with an empty string here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to format line this. So what we're going to say is we're going to do x plus equals a format string, and we'll put in the tool name here. And then we'll say what it returned back. And that should be, I think it's outputs. Oh, the outputs can be different though. Now that I think about it. That was why we had that. We could put an error check in here where we could say, hey, if the output is a type tool call, that should show up in here. So this was our rename PHP task, right? let me look at something real quick. What was our input for this? Yeah. Let me drill down to it real quick. Where's our rename task right here? Rename, rename, rename. So yeah, so these are the outputs, right, where it's tracking it. This was our new one that I think just got inserted. Yeah, so sometimes the output is just a string like this when it's coming back from a special agent. So we can't just straight up say, hey, always go get the content, because that's not necessarily going to be there. So what we could do is we could say the tool call here. We could check and see if it has content as a key in there, and then we could say that that would work. Yeah, let's do that. Let's comment that out. Let's say, we'll say output is going to equal, we'll say, chances are more than likely it's just going to be a tool call object when that happens. So for the default, I think what we're going to do is it's going to be the ith output dot content. No, that's not what I want. Output's a list of a dictionary, list of dictionaries. Actually, that's probably technically going to be like a list of any. I gotta remember how to do that. So we're using LangChain. So let me see. LangChain, tool call, get content. I gotta remember how to do that. Why not check the role instead of the content? So if we look at the data that we've got from it, right, in here, the role is just tool in here. So we could go check rule or the role in here, and it would work the same as content. But since content's the one we want to pull, that's the one I was going to check. So we're going to say, okay, hey, what's basically see if it does have a content in here. And LangChain has a function for pulling that content out. So there's our name content. That's not what I want. Tool calling. We could also do an is instance in here. So we can say it's going to be output I if, let's see. I think it's is instance. Yeah. Is instance of, I got to remember how to do, what does this function take? What does it take in here? It returns whether an object is an instance of a class or a subclass. So we do the object and we do the class or the tuple or whatever we want. Okay, so we'll say if outputs I is an instance of a, I think it's tool call. Or is it a tool output? Which one would that be? There's a difference in signatures, same results, different methods. Yeah, pretty much. I gotta remember how I did this. Where's our... Let me go up one. So from the update, what are we taking out of here? So over to the output, we're appending the tool output. The tool output is the last message.content. And so that should be, if the last message type was a tool, that's it, yeah. Then our tool output is our content right there. Boom. Yeah, that should work in there. Let me think about this. I've been meaning to actually come through and type these messages right here. me see if I can find something real fast here. Let me see if the LangChain docs. Yeah, visit the 1.0 docs. Where's our tool calling stuff? Tools, here we go. Customizing properties, descriptions. Context, not what I was looking for. I'm trying to remember what the actual tool definition is in here. So this was the one I was just looking at, wasn't it? With the tool decorator? Yeah. Sure was. Not it. Let me actually look for something. Tool call, or tool message. You're killing me, Smalls. This here. Tool message. There it is. Ah, here we go. So here's our tool message type. New tool message, that's our content. Basically, the content is what it should look like when it comes back from it. So I think that should be a tool message. So the AI message has the tool call property onto it. And then we have our actual tool message. That's right. So there's distinct message types in here. So what we're doing is we're saying, hey, is the last message a type tool in here? Then we're going to do that. Because if this was a tool call, we would actually have last message type AI, and then we would pull out the tool call and pass that over to our function definer. Okay. So we come back over to our tasking right here. This should be a type of tool message. There we go. Actually, I do need to go look at one more thing. I need to see what the definition of the tool message is. I am sad that you don't link me over to the message types in here. Let's see. I need to actually see the tool message here. All right, fine. I know this is the old docs, but the method should still be the same. Let's see. Where's our methods in here? Pretty representation of a message. We could also just call text. Okay. Yeah, we can do that. So if it's an instance of a tool message, what we can get is get the text content of the message. That's what I want. So we can call text like this, and then trust me, it's fine. It's fine. Okay, fine. I'll do this. It's going to be a list of either a tool message or it's going to be a string. There. Will that make you happy? That make you happy now? Okay, so it's got a text here. So it'll be text if it's an instance of a message, a tool message. Otherwise, we're just going to return our outputs I, just like that. Bam. Okay. So what this will do is we're going to define the output as being this, and then what we're just going to string output the output right here. So for the tool call, we're going to say basically it returned like this. All right. Let's save that and see if it hot loads that code in properly. Okay, no errors, so we should be good. Let's go run this guy from scratch. Make a new thread and run it. I probably just really broke it, but I'm used to that by now. Hey guys, do me a favor. I want to test something out real fast because it's something I saw on a a random short video. But if you're on Twitch, I want you to do me a favor and just type like something into chat, like an A or something. If it's not going to mess you up, if it's going to disrupt you, don't worry about it. I want to check something. I want to do an N of 1 experiment on this. Because the theory is now that Twitch is not counting idle viewers. Doesn't really bother me. I just want to verify the result. Because earlier when everybody was chatting, the number of viewers was about 10 higher. We had about close to 30. Now we got about 20. I just want to see if it does the same thing. I stream for fun. I don't stream for profit. Pretty much all the money that comes into the stream just goes right back into the stream to paying for like subscriptions. Hey. Also, hey Jordan, what's up, man? I didn't see you your name in chat earlier, so I just want to say hey. All right, so where did we error out? Bobby, you're a madman. Go ahead and drop in 10 gifted shells to everybody. Thank you, brother. You get money for your stream must be a big shot. Not really, dude. So they changed what the requirements are for you to get affiliate, which is to get payouts from it. The last time I checked, with the exception of Bobby going absolutely ballistic with gifted subs, because, dude, I think in the last 2 weeks, let me see, what did you drop? I think you've dropped like 25 gifted subs in like the last 2 weeks, dude. You're an absolute madman. Working late because of reasons. Your stream's currently keeping me sane. I'm happy, man. I'm glad I can help out with that. Let's see. I actually can really appreciate that now, Genius. I don't want to distract you because I know you're working. I had a really hard week this week too. The last 2 weeks have been brutal, trying to like just claw our way through this particular red team exercise. So I feel for you, man. I understand. All right, where did we error out on this one? All right, I actually need to go check the revisor real fast because I want to see what the output now looks like. Interesting. So it still didn't pull out the content when it did that. See that? So it's not recognizing this as a tool call in here. So our check didn't work, but it is, at least now we're getting the idea of this in here, of what we called versus what the output was. So,
bullshit, I can't hear you. Sound off like you got a pair.
Gumby, you're so full of crap. Give me trust issues, bro. I need to go through and okay, so we'll have to go through and fix that, but let's see what it did here. So it got the artifact, it navigated to the upload page. I think that's like 31 gifted subs, dude. You're insane. Thanks again, brother. Bobby's over here just making it rain subs. I appreciate you, brother. Oh, you made me lose my train of thought. What was I doing? Oh, okay. So it navigates the page. It tried to do the upload. The upload's probably going to get blocked. So now we should see a rename file. Excellent. And then we should see another upload. Excellent. So what does this revisor look like when it did this? Yeah, there we go. So we did have this happen. It returned back the output. Excellent. I need to shorten that sound. It's a little too long.
Incoming transmission from Marano Gumby is done yet.
Is done yet? No, we're still working on it, man. Dude, this project's not going to be done for a while because the integration to Mythic C2 is going to be deep. And in fact, I'm considering adding some more checks over to the browser agent and actually make that kind of like a standard design pattern for the special agents. So for anybody who's new, because we've got a lot of new folks in here. So these special agents right here, These are completely separate nodes. They live. I stole the idea from Nemesis and from Comfy UI, another couple of systems in here where you could go make a custom agent. It's got to be able to use something in there because technically you don't have to use LangChain or LangGraph. But anyway, what you can do is you can pass execution down to it. It can have access to the state table. It can do modifications, whatever. And then it can return that data back to the primary graph here. We don't see it happen because there's just one happening right now and it's not added to the graph. Not a big deal. But when that information comes back, it continues on the loop, just like the system had actually executed itself over here with like the exploit tool node.
Incoming transmission from Morano Gumby. Stop procrastinating and just finish it already. Hee.
I'm working on it, bro. I save most of the dev for this thing on stream so we can have fun and y'all can razz me and then tell me where I make stupid typos in the prompts. But anyway, so what's happening here is this exploitation agent, those agents technically could be run by themselves. So what I'm thinking about doing is adding a standard like execution check where you could actually just go talk to the special agent itself. So you could have two modes. You could have like an integrated mode where it's meant to be part of HackBot and go through the actual execution flow, or two, have a chat mode for it where you could literally just talk to it like in a terminal interface and be able to have it go do things. So like, for example, you could go interact with the browser agent and say, hey, I want you to go browse here, do this, do that, and be good with it. So I'm considering doing that because if I do it that way, we could go integrate Mythic as a special agent, and then you would be able to have a chatbot where you could go talk to Mythic and find information and be able to do that, which I think would be absolutely freaking sick. So that's another update to the special agents I'm considering. And after I talk to Cody and learn some more about the internals of Mythic and we start developing it, I think that's probably the path I'm leaning the most towards, is that Mythic will be integrated as a special agent into this. So anytime we need to work with Mythic, we're going to branch off, we're going to execute the Mythic special agent and then let it come back to the PostX agent itself. This security seems unbeatable. I can't find a way into the system. The client. 2 hamsters on a wheel and a monkey attacking with typewriters while throwing poo. It is. It's not even that they're unhackable today. We have a very clear, and part of this is also like helping teach some of they're setting up their own internal red team. So I'm teaching them some stuff. Other people on my team are teaching them some stuff. And so I have like catch-up calls with them and I've shown them the attack path. So like, hey, once we can get to this point, it's straight. It's a straight exploit path. We're going to have this. The problem is we're having trouble getting to that one link right there. And it has to largely be to do with that we're doing things very differently for this client than our kind of standard approach. And because of that, I can't get a stable C2 connection. I'm having such a hard time with it. Again, that's where I tell everybody, having that sysadmin understanding and building your own systems and understanding them, then that will help you understand the security side so much better. A lot of people are like, yeah, I just want to hack into computers. I'm like, cool. Do you even know how it works? If you don't know how it works, you're not going to know how to break it scientifically, which is essentially what an offensive security person is doing. They're going through and they're breaking the network scientifically. All right. Anyway, that was a little aside. I'm stoked about working on the Mythic special agent when that time comes. Let's see what we have here. So we do need to go update the context prep a little bit. Now, what was this? So that was our RCE check. Here is our task. So what is our task here? Access the uploaded web shell from .php. That shouldn't have worked. Hold on. Because we should have gotten a PHP not permitted error. Oh, it uploaded as web shell, or webshell.jpg. That makes sense. So it's going to try and do an HTTP GET to a file that doesn't exist. Oh no, it actually did choose the correct file, webshell.jpg. And then what did it do? Probably the revisor said, no, stop. The revisor probably came back and said, this looks like it's non-exploitable. What happened? No. No. Oh no, is it really doing that? Hang on, I just noticed, I think, a major flaw here. No. Let me go look at something else real quick. Let me look in the RCE check. That will confirm this. Damn it. Okay, when we... Crap. I just noticed something. Notice how there's no AI output here? It's just the tool call. When we added a bit of functionality in here, and it has broken one of the core pieces that I wanted. Let's see. Is it tool call? Oh, God, I'm in the wrong file. It's like, why is this not showing up in here? Hold on. Let me find it. Unfortunately, I can't control F because it breaks these on this remote remote interface that I'm using. There's tool calls.
Why can't we talk it over?
Hold on, will this do regex? Yeah, it will. Hang on. Where is that? I know where it's at. It's actually up in, not in the exploit agent. It is in the processor. Here we go. So it's in the RCE check. Tool choice. There we go. Damn it. So when we added this tool choice, it completely broke the return data here. Urgh. Okay, that's fine. Because we have a dirty workaround for this, and which is we can tell it in the prompt, you must always call that tool. So let's go back over to our prompt here. So in here, we can do this. We can add one more directive to this. You must always perform the tool call. There you go. So what we've done now is we're basically in the prompt, we're telling it you always have to use this. All right, so we're going to take that out here, and the other place it was doing that is in the revisor. So where's our revisor here? There it is. So we're going to take this out. Then we'll come over here. Hit this sucker. No, it's this one. What, you gotta go outside now? Peaches, you're killing me. I know it's the end of the stream. She knows when the stream ends, and she's like, I need to go outside and go to the bathroom right now. Hang on, sweetie. Let's see. Hang on, Peaches. I got you. Let's do one more here. We're gonna say, you must always call the exploit status tool. There we go. All right, hey guys, give me 1 second. Let me go let Peaches out. I'll be right back.
Why can't we talk it over?
All right, I'm back. Let's see. Everyone starts as a script kiddie. Understanding how your targeted system works shortens the time to graduate beyond that. It does, man. In some ways, I'm still a script kiddie. I love going and writing scripts. honestly, this whole thing was to scratch my skitty itch because I wanted to make tools that were helpful and reproducible. The difference is I'm the one writing the script. And I'm not the one who originally said that quote. I forget who it was, but he said, still a script kiddie. It's just now I write the scripts, you know. And Gumby, I was not pooping. Peaches is out there pooping. All right, let's go try running this again. Now we tell it, so we took out a binding here where we told it you always have to call this. Where was that? It was down here. So when we bound the tools to it, we told it you always have to call this. However, that didn't quite work the way we wanted it to, because then we lost the actual AI conversation when this happened. So I'm a grown-ass script adult. So there's a veterans chat in my at work, and those guys are hilarious, and I love hanging out with them. I'm just very comfortable around veterans, and so I was messing with them where whenever somebody new joins in, they want to ask questions like, "What was your MOS, your military occupation specialty," and some other questions like that. And I realized that, you know, I hadn't done it obviously because I'm not a veteran. I just really like them, and they seem to, I get along with them really well. So I decided, here, I'm going to throw mine in there. And one was like, what was your branch of service? I put in, I was operator for Gravy SEALs, MEAL Team 6. They thought that was hilarious. I'm glad they liked it. They appreciate my sense of humor. All right, let's go run the sucker again. Oh, wait, hold on. I actually do need to, I fixed it, but I want to see what else we had going on here. So it does a GET request. It realizes that's what's going on. Hey, actually, I think it might have tried to fix it here, because then it realized, hey, that's not going to work. Wait, hold on. Don't tell me the reviser passed that. Damn it. It did. It validated it, even though we don't have RCE. And then it moved on to... What did the RCE check find? The RCE check found true. But we don't know why it flagged it as true. The reason why I wanted to track all this output is because you can kind of get an idea of which, I don't want to say thinking, but let's say which vector path the language model is executing as it goes through and it's thinking about things. Because it's looking at certain structures of words and it's using those to build patterns, and that's taking it through that large matrix multiplication, right? So think of it like a vectorized path. So if we go through and on the prompt, we put in certain keywords to anchor it to a different path to kind of direct it and flow it to the direction we want, we have a better chance of success. It's never going to be 100% because these are probabilistic systems. You always have a probability of just absolutely having a crash out. But I don't have the information because the thing ate it. It ate the output. Son of a bee sting. But this does also lead me to the idea that we probably should move the RCE check over to the reviser. It's working over in the step processor. I believe what we should do is probably go beef up the, I think we should go beef up the reviser and move it over there.
Incoming transmission from RNO Gumby. Don't forget to push your changes.
I will remember to push the changes, Gumby. Yes. Yes, I will. Because, so for anybody who doesn't know, because who doesn't know this story, a couple weeks ago, the exploitation agent actually completed its first run and actually got code execution. It did the error correction. It found the upload bypass. Very simple, but it did finally do it for the first time. And I was super stoked. And then through a series of misclicks and being elated and not paying attention, I rolled back the server to an old snapshot. Because I had like 4 months of code stored up that I hadn't pushed. And so I wanted to go push it, but I wanted to kind of clean it up and do this, that, and the other. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to take a snapshot of the system right now. Well, the snapshot and rollback buttons are very close. Or the remove and rollback buttons are very close. So I thought, okay, great. I'll just remove the old snapshots. I'll just have the one good snapshot. We'll be hunky-dory. And I rolled it back. Thank God I had a snapshot from 2 weeks before that event because we had a power outage at the house. So when the power went out, I remoted into the server, I took a snapshot, and then I shut down the server because my UPS only lasts for about 10 minutes. Did that, everything was good, but I could have potentially lost 4 months worth of work. You would have seen a grown man cry on stream. That was a lot of work. Through one small minor divine intervention of having a power outage and getting a snapshot from just 2 weeks before that, I didn't lose very much. So now Gumby's like at the end of every stream, make sure and push your code. I was like, I will, Gumby. I will push it. There's been even times since that event where I have forgotten to push it. I've gone to bed. I'm laying there like, man, that was a good stream. We learned some new stuff. Crap, I didn't push the code. Got up, came back over, had to boot my computer back up because my computer won't stay on unless I'm live streaming. Then for some reason it stays stable. And boot the computer back up, load back into the VM, and then push the code. I'm working very hard on that, Gumby. Make sure I don't just let the commits pile up. This bums me out though. All right, I'm gonna do one more run on this before the end of the night here. Exploit. Let me make sure the box is still online. Yeah, it's still online for another 28 minutes. Good. We'll see what it does. Now we can actually get the output back and we can see what is the language model thinking, and then we can basically take that and put it over into the prompt like, don't do this, do this. So we're building the prompts as we see issues with them come up. Kind of like poor man's reinforcement learning. Hey, Dante, what's up, dude? Dude, Bobby's been on a tear, Dante. He's an absolute madman. All right, let's see what the processor's doing. Hey, Marcel, thanks for coming online, man. I hope you're having an absolutely amazing Saturday. All right, so if it's in the special agent node, that means it's calling the browser agent because that's the only special agent we've got. And we don't have direct visibility into what it's doing. We can see the trace of it over here, but it's not super clear. Oh no, why are you doing php.jpg? Damn it, it's trying to do a double extension in here, and that doesn't work, but that's fine because it should error correct for it. It just burns more tokens. Because every time I run this, I think it's costing about 50 to 60 cents. So if I run this 10 times during the stream, it's $5 or $6, but I only have $100 in Anthropic credits. And last time I checked, I think the balance was like 40. So it's getting to be more expensive, which is why I was using the time travel method earlier. In here in this trace, we can actually tell it, hey, go back a couple of nodes and rerun it from there. And it will save the state table and it will run it from that perspective. Oh, I think I broke it. No, there it goes. So we're just going to let it chill out here and see what it's doing. We already know it's going to fail because the double extension method doesn't work in this example. I don't know. I guess I should go try it. I should go see, like, hey, does it work if maybe you put a null terminator in there? I don't think it will. I don't think so. Okay, let's see what this thing did. So it gets the DiceCo artifact. And before, it didn't know, like, for example, we're talking about, like, binding, kind of like directing that vector path with the prompts. What we did here is we actually told it, when you're doing this, we gave it an explicit instruction that says, let's see. There's our definition, special agent caller. Oh, actually, no, we didn't put this in here, did we? Where did I put that? Let me see. I just noticed there's a typo in there. Call the appropriate tool to get the task. What was the task? Oh, no, I take that back. In the planner. So we didn't do it in the processor, but in the planner, we actually gave it directives that say, let's see. All steps should be constructed by tool calling. Do not include security bypass steps. artifacts are available for code samples, i.e. PHP web shells. So we bound the idea that, hey, you should be working with something like an artifact when you develop the steps. So then what's the first step it comes with? Obtain a simple PHP web shell artifact. Then what happens? That gets passed down to the step processor. The step processor gets obtain a simple PHP web shell artifact. Then it says, oh, I have a tool call that's very close to that. Get web shell artifact. Bam. So that's kind of how we're tying these things together semantically as they flow through the graph. All right, so it gets our artifact. It navigates to the upload page. It attempts to do the upload. It's going to fail, but we can always just check the summary at the end here. Let's see. We got PHP not permitted in Portuguese. Then it comes through, and the revisor should now say, hey, let's do a rename. Yep, it does that. We're going to rename it to .php JPEG, which is a stupid idea, but we're going to let it have a little bit of freedom to do that. It renames it. What does the revisor say? Revisor says it's validated. Okay. So then the processor is now going to call the browser again, tell it to try to upload. The upload's going to succeed because that's a valid extension. The only thing that it has is it has an explicit block for PHP uploads. So once that's good, it's then going to try. Wait, why is it back to upload the PHP web shell through the form? Let me check here. So then it says success right here. Why? So it successfully uploaded. Let's look at something real quick here. What's our list of tasks that were our steps that we have? Let's drill down into our steps. So obtain the artifact, navigate, rename it to a PHP JPEG, upload PHP through the shell. But it actually already uploaded it though. What was the step that it was validating? The step it was validating is upload PHP web shell through the form. That should be valid. But then for some reason, upload the PHP web shell through the form. Okay. Then the next one we give it is, we say, where's our task in here? Oh, sorry, that's the RCE check. I forgot. Here we go. This is the one we actually need. Hello, Peaches. There we go. So we told it to access the web shell through here, and then it comes back and says, okay, I'm going to just do an HTTP GET to it. It's going to come back as PHP code, and it probably will validate that step. Let's see. Validated the step, okay, even though it didn't get it. But then now let's see what the RCE check said. Okay, good. RCE is false right here. And now you see we have all the reasoning steps, so we can tell it if it makes a wrong determination, we can then come up and we can say, oh, by the way, in the system prompt, you have to look at it this way. Don't look at it this way. So we can try to guide those vectors through here. All right, so what did it say for the RCE check here? Based on the context provided, I can see the web shell was obtained. The attacker renamed it to PHP JPEG. The file was successfully uploaded. The server web shell was accessed. The content of the web shell was returned. The web shell is specifically designed for remote code execution. It contains functionality to execute system commands through various PHP functions. When the artifact the attacker accessed the uploaded web shell, the server returned the PHP code instead of executing it. That suggests it did not process PHP JPEG file as a PHP code, rather as a singular file. So RCE failed. Okay, which is good. Let's see. So then the next step is task the web shell to run the ID command. So what's it going to do here? Okay, this is actually a valid approach. It should have used the DiceCode tool call, but if it calls it with command ID and it worked, then we'd get, you know, the who am I data for TripDub's data. We didn't get that. So the revisor should say it failed. It did fail. And then it's going to try and do it again. Let's see. Status failed. Okay, so if that fails, what's it going to do now? Wait, hold on. If that failed... Hold on. So the revisor said this failed right here. So our revisor said, hey, by the way, this failed. We should have gone through this step again. Task the web shell to execute simple command like ID. Oh, here we go. It skipped to the initial access exploit because the RCE check came back as true, even though it wasn't. We did not get RCE. So what was the reasoning behind this? Looking at the context, the last step shows the content of a PHP web shell with the script diceco. Script contains a lot of functions to it. The web shell has a parameter for handling commands. Based on the evidence, the attacker has successfully bypassed the upload restriction, uploaded a PHP web shell, accessed the web shell, which appears to have been processed as PHP code. Okay, so for some reason, it saw everything that happened and thought it was processed as a command when it wasn't. All right, so that's where the fault lies. So we need to go through and we'll have to update this. So let me go leave a note for myself in the future here. Let's come back to our RCE check. Yes, it should. I think that's the better option is we're going to move this code down to the revisor and merge it into the revisor. I think that will be the better solution. Should we merge this to the exploit revisor? Yes, move to revisor. And then we need to do another thing here, which is, I'm going to put this as a to-do. And another to-do, so they highlight some. Move to the revisor, and then we need to basically enforce a stricter check for RCE. There we go. So that's what we're going to do next time. Unfortunately, it looks like we died in the water here when it did this. Because it tried to get the initial... The good thing is, though, when it did the initial access exploit, it did call the correct tool. It looks like this is maybe where it died. Yeah, index list out of... What happened here? Yeah, it tried to go to the wrong index again. Okay, we'll have to go double check that in the exploit step router. Enforce. There we go. All right. Unfortunately, guys, that's where I've got to wrap it up for tonight. Thank you all for coming to hang out. Let's go find somebody that we can raid over to. Let's go check our good friends. By the way, if you like this kind of stream, go check out infosecstreams.com. I love InfoSec streams. It is amazeballs. And for everybody over on... Man, I hope I haven't been... Dude. Guys over on YouTube, freaking... Damn it. Hang on one second. I apologize, because I think it just... It had logged me out, and I couldn't see the chat. So, if you've been over on YouTube chatting this whole time, I apologize massively. Hang on one sec. All right, there we go. I apologize, guys. If you've been over on YouTube sending messages, I haven't seen them. I don't know if it ate them or what. I apologize. If I see them, I'll go and try to reply back in the comments. Freaking computer. This computer's been pissing me off real bad. It's been giving me all sorts of issues. Damn it. I hope I haven't been missing those. Oh, that pisses me off to realize that. All right. Anyway, what I was saying is if you like this kind of stuff, go over to infosecstreams.com. Yeah, there's usually, during the day, there's a lot of folks. This time of night, it's usually just us hanging out in here. Let's go see who we can... If you have any raid suggestions on the Twitch side, feel free to shout them out. Let's see. What else do we have in here? Dead Sun's on. He's playing a video game. I like Dead Sun. Let's see. Actually, let me go see who's over in Science and Tech right now. Ooh, there's an astrophotography guy over on Science Attack. Like ya. I'll let you check that out. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Griffin's online. Let's go right over to Griffin. He's a really awesome developer. Yes. Guys, do me a favor. When you get over there, drop a bunch of Hack the Planets in chat. And since you all pretty much have gifted subs now because of Bobby, you can drop some Cookie Monsters in there. Legally distinct Cookie Beast. Let's call him that. There you go. But that's it, guys. I got to wrap it up for tonight. I got to get up early and take care of Sunday goodies. And got church early in the morning. Everyone, y'all have a fantastic night. Thank you all for coming to hang out and just having a good time. Ripping on the code, seeing where it goes crazy. Realizing don't trust the machines. They're interesting, but they are absolutely foolable. And they go crazy sometimes. And that's all I got for you guys. Oh, wait, I forgot. I have one more thing. Super important. And that is, I love you. Peace.
User ID fetch. Like, I don't know. Modern day full-blown ORM? Maybe the one that's... I think there's one in Nest.js that might be closer. I don't know. I haven't reached for a proper ORM in ages, because I don't like that. I do remember Angular